on the off chance you guys have better questions and are more engaged than the morning group. They did amazing, but you could beat them. I have no idea. So we'll send out whichever one gets more questions or things maybe that we missed. So we're happy you're here. Obviously, you've all at least skimmed the email that went out yesterday about the changes that are happening at the pantry. Since you all are the front line to this, we are really interested in making sure we're clear about what's changing and what's happening. We've got different names of shifts. We've got some different hours, and we want to be able to make sure that everybody's on board and can explain it to other volunteers if they ask, and customers if they need clarification. So all of this has been a long process of us evaluating. So none of these changes came about like that 1 week we were off. Like, we'd been working on it for a long time, and it's very thoughtful. And but some of it's new and it'll work or it won't, and we need you guys to give us that feedback. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Paul and Ellie to be our main spokespeople of the evening.
Perfect. Thanks, Colleen. Appreciate it. As Colleen said, right, thank you all very, very much for taking time out of your evening to learn more about the changes. But really, part of this is going to be just doing a high-level review of the changes, but a lot of it really is, we would like this to be an opportunity for you to ask questions, to comment, express any concerns that you have. This is really a kind of a team or a joint effort for us. We put a template in place, but we're going to be evaluating this as we go along and making changes as necessary. A couple of things I wanted to point out, though, that aren't in the email that went out. Some people have been asking, like, so why are we doing all this, right? This is a lot, and one of the sessions it came up and said, wow, we're basically going from like every week to like twice a month. That's a big change, and it is. Part of that is driven by just the number of people that we're seeing at the pantry. A year ago, 250 a week was kind of average. Now we're way over 850 a week that we're seeing. Other things that are driving this, just the cost of food for us. In October of last year, the entire month, we spent roughly about $4,000. October of this year, we were spending pretty much like close to $33,000 to serve that many people. Some of that's just the number of people, but some of that is just our food costs. And then the other things that you may have seen, it's just the availability of food as well. Products that we normally would be able to get as much as we wanted, things like rice and pasta and other items. Meat has been very difficult for us to get, things like that. They're just not available on the market for us, and that's difficult for us. So those are some of the reasons why we're making the changes that we're making. I'll go over just at a high level, like the changes. So as I mentioned, right, shoppers are going to starting this month. Shoppers will be able to visit the pantry twice a month. So that can be 2 visits to the store, it can be a visit to virtual and the store, it can be 2 visits at virtual, but it is 2 visits a month. We're gonna say that applies to everyone who is in DuPage or Will counties. Anybody who's outside of those counties, they can have 1 visit, and then at that visit, we'll refer them to other pantries closer to where they live. We're also changing our hours. So we're dropping the Monday distribution, and I'm sure you've seen that some of the days have changed. We're starting a little bit later. Thursday, instead of going all day, we're going back to what we did before, where we were open in the morning and early afternoon, and then open in the evening. And then Saturday, we're expanding our hours. We're actually going to go till 1 o'clock in the afternoon instead of stopping at 11 or at 11:30 like we are now. So it seems like we're changing a lot of things and we're taking away a lot of things, and we are changing some things, but we are also adding some things back, as I mentioned about Saturday, and adding that extra hour and a half. A couple of things on the virtual side that we're really excited about. One of those is for a customer who places their order online, whether they're at home or they're at the pantry itself in Woodridge, they're going to be able to pick that order up within 30 minutes. So we're looking at that as hopefully as an alternative for people to offset some of the reduction in our store shopping in-person hours. The other thing is grab-and-go boxes. What we're calling a grab-and-go box is going to be back at all of our distribution sites. That includes our virtual pickup sites as well as at the store itself. So customers are free to select that. If they do, that counts as one of their visits for that week, or for that month rather, I'm sorry. So there's some changes, like I said, we're adding some things, but we're also changing a little bit about how we operate. And really it's for us, we want to be able to still provide that same level of service, the same food options, you know, and do it in a way that allows us to sustain our business going forward. And the way that we've, with everything that's been kind of between the number of people who are coming and the increasing food costs, it's just, unfortunately, this model that we're operating on right now is just not sustainable. I'm gonna think that's a lot of talking for me. I'm gonna turn it over to Ellie, who can talk a little bit more specifically about what's happening starting with tomorrow's distribution, and then also what is distribution going to look like a week from now.
Great, yeah, thanks, Paul. So starting tomorrow, we've talked with all of our check-in volunteers and check folks, and we are going to be, you know, communicating all of this to our shoppers. They've gotten an email. Everybody has alerting them of these changes, and we're also going to have signs posted everywhere because we want, it's a lot of information, and we want it to be easily accessible for our volunteers and for all of our shoppers, be able just to point to a sign and say, here are the new changes that are coming. And we are also, so we're going to be doing that starting tomorrow for a week, and then next Thursday, that's when we will have our the change in our hours and the geographical restrictions, and then the twice a month shopping. So this first week, we're letting everybody know, welcome back. We're open for the new year. You get to shop with us 2 times. This will be your first visit, and then plan accordingly for when you would like your second visit to be. It can be one of these 3 options. You can shop in person, you can place an order online, or you can come and get a grab and go. So that's what's going to be happening this week. Next week, on Thursday, we'll start all of those new pieces. We're going to have extra staff in the store to help support all of our volunteers, answer any questions, be there for our shoppers. We know it's going to be a big change for some folks. So we're going to have an added presence at the pantry store.
Thanks, Allie. That's a lot of talking on our part. And like I said, we really want to hear from you. Questions, what questions, concerns, anything that's come to mind or from the email that went out? Betty, you're up. Yep, let's go. But you're on mute, Betty.
No, you're on mute.
You're muted.
I'll unmute her. I'll unmute
Okay.
her. It's okay. I can do it for her. Where are you, Betty? Here we go. Can I unmute you? Oh, I'm not that fancy. I can ask you to unmute yourself.
Oh, I think she's got it.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah, I think she's looking at it.
I should have never muted her. Sorry.
Ha!
There you are.
There we
Look
are.
at you.
It'd be a Luddite, but I figured this one out.
Perfect.
Right? So here, a couple of questions. The grab and go boxes that you mentioned, Paul, will those change each week, or will they be a standard thing? What will be in them if it's a standard thing?
To have a standard dry box available. But as you all know, there have been dry products that have come and then not been available. So we're putting together that list. But the goal is to have it, you know, include a variety of items so that people are able to make meals and it not just be a miscellaneous box of product. And then with that, they'll also get a bag of produce. And then the goal is to have some proteins available.
Cool. Okay, so that will change as we have different products available, produce and all that. Okay, so the other thing is not everyone reads their emails. I am absolutely one of those people that doesn't read their emails. Thank God I read this one. But I always read your emails, Colleen. Always.
He's buttering me up.
I'm a schmoozer. That's, you know me, I'm a schmoozer. So if our customers don't read the emails, who's going to tell them that this change is happening? And there are people that are lovely, and there are people that get a little bit frazzled or angry or upset. I don't want to put this on to, the young ladies. A lot of them are young ladies that sit in front, because I don't think they can handle that. Maybe they can, and maybe I'm just being too maternalistic. But who's going to tell our shoppers, our customers, if they're not reading their emails?
Yeah, so this week we are going to inform everybody, because I fall into that same category, right? Not a personal email reader. And so we are anticipating a number of folks when they show up this week, this being the first time they're hearing that information. So that's why we'll have the nice, easy to read information of the new changes for the pantry. We'll have those available. And this is our week, the first week, hours as usual, shopping as usual. Here's the information of what is going to be new starting on January 12th. And then that's starting on January 12th. That's why we have added staff available at the pantry. So because we know change is hard, and none of us want to be making this choice. We always want to be saying yes. If it were up to me, right, we'd be open all the time, every day, all the time, to be there for folks. But we have to make some decisions. And so the staff will be there for the following 2 weeks during our open shopping service hours, to be there to listen. Some people are just going to need to express this change and how that impacts their life. And some people are going to need additional resources. So we've got our supportive service team available who can help direct them to other services that they may need. We also have a list of other food pantries that they can visit, and or other food pantries like in their area. So we have both additional ones in the DuPage and Will counties, as well as food pantries outside our service areas.
Splendid. You guys have really thought about it all, haven't you? I just have to say, Paul, what you said about the difference in spend from 2021 to 2022 was frankly shocking. And I think that those of us that work there that know that, it'll just be easier for us too.
Yeah, that's, we want to be upfront. We want to be transparent with you and let you know why, you're our partners in this work. And, we don't want to, these are big changes, and we want to make sure that you really understand why, we're having to do what we're doing. As Ellie said, right, we're always looking for a way to, to say yes, to try and figure out a way to make it work, to make it more accessible, not less. And so this is a bit of a change for us. It's something, like I said, we'll evaluate it every month. We feel like, it's a moment in time for us that we're going through. As soon as that we're able to add back more services, add back more hours, we're definitely going to do that. That's where we want to be. But it's just right now, this is where, unfortunately, where we have to be.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. All right. Looks like Laura has to go, and I think I saw Barb first. So Barb, go ahead, and then we'll get to Laura and then Beth.
Okay, cool, thanks. And thanks, Betty. You had some of the same questions I had, so that'll make my list a little bit shorter. One question I have is, I know that I'm trying to understand why we had such a big increase of people outside our counties. Because I assume that's one of the big reasons that our numbers have jumped so high. So I'm just kind of curious why other people would come from other counties. Word of mouth? Do we have more stuff? Just curious.
I'll start it and I'll invite Colleen and Ellie also to chime in as well on this one. So I think part of it is people who work, you know, they may live in Cook County, but they're working out here is driving some of that. Some of it is word of mouth. We're one of the few pantries that has expanded their hours over the last year. And so trying to make it more convenient. And I really honestly think, without, you know, really trying to butter all of you up, it really is the experience though as well. When, you know, regardless of the day or the time that people come in through that door, or, you know, shop on virtual and pick up their order, or, you know, whether they were getting it through DoorDash, there's a certain level of respect and dignity that all of you infuse into that experience for them. And for people who, you know, have to make that difficult decision to come to a pantry, which is hard enough, to know that somebody cares. And that's something that's consistently people have said, whether it's in surveys or they've said it to us, you know, when they talk to us about it. That's one of the things that really drives home why, you know, why they feel comfortable coming to West Suburban Community Pantry. So I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. And what kind
I
of
think
numbers?
Sorry, Barb, but the other component too is what we see those of the volunteers that are in check-in is lots and lots, especially in the past month or two, lots of new immigrants to our country, and they may not be in our service area, but they hear word of mouth through their immigrant groups, right? Like they're all coming over maybe with one refugee agency. They all get placed in a particular apartment complex, might not be in DuPage. And then they tell their friends, oh, I went to this pantry. They were so nice. They didn't turn me away, blah, blah, blah. Right. And so then it just, you know, it snowballs. So I think that is an element too, not only of word of mouth as well.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, it definitely says a lot about the pantry, and it's definitely a nice experience. And I've been here since August, and, you know, I can really see that people like coming here. So that makes sense. So thanks for answering that. And what kind of numbers do you think we'll get to, or do you anticipate that we get to by making all these changes?
So I think for us, what we're looking for in terms of spend, we're trying to get our spending, quite frankly, down to about $26,000 a month. We feel like if that number definitely sustainable for us, we can definitely, you know, meet, balance our fundraising with our expenditures at that point. And I think in terms of, you know, the number of people, you know, that we're seeing, that one, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do the math. I'm going to have to possibly, I might ask Ellie if she's looked at that. Otherwise, I can pull that up real quick.
I haven't looked at the numbers recently of like the total number of households, but with changing it to shopping twice a month, one of our hopes, and one of my hopes, is as we want to be able to continue to serve the number of households that we're serving, and still provide an opportunity for new folks to come and connect with us and be able to use us as a resource. So really, these changes are also to ensure that we can continue to help the whole community, and actually help more people by making, you know, these changes that we have.
Barbara, I took a really quick look, and, you know, roughly, right, we're looking at about 800 households, let's say about 825 households a month is where, you know, we feel like we're able to provide that level of service, get in at that 26,000, and really provide an experience, or, you know, an outcome, right, in terms of the amount and the variety of food that makes it worth it for people to come.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. And one more question about the grab and go box. So if I heard right, that'll be available both virtual and in the pantry. How will that work? Or how do you anticipate that's going to work in the pantry itself, like logistically? I'm trying to understand.
Great question. So this was asked earlier. So we will have those boxes available. because it counts as one of your visits to the pantry, we do need to wait until somebody gets through check-in so that we can verify, yes, you still have, you're able to get either your first or your second visit at the pantry, and we can record it. And then they'll drive around to the back of the pantry where we can give them the food box available. We'll have walkies up at the front too, so that people can then walk you to the back to let people know that someone's coming. And then they're able to take that home with them.
So will the boxes be already made up in the back of the pantry? Is that the, okay, all right, got it. Okay, thank you. Thanks for, I think it's good. You guys are really taking a good approach to this. Let's hope it all works.
So true. All right, Beth, you had your hand up.
Yeah, hi. I'm pretty new, so I'm just getting a hang of some of the processes, but can you tell me, I usually work in the virtual pantry. So can you tell me what it'll look like when people place their online order and then come in 30 minutes or 45 minutes? Does the checkout or the check-in happen at the virtual pantry? Can you kind of give me an idea of what that's going to look like?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Beth. That's a great question. So right now,
and Ellie, could you also hump back on her question of like explaining the shifts and how their names have changed too? Thank you.
So right now we've got in the virtual pantry, we've got our pick and pack shift, and then we have our distribution shift. Because we're going to allow folks to be able to place orders and come pick them up every 30 minutes. We've got, we'll have that happening at all times. So the shifts are actually changing so that we've got our order fulfillment shift. So when you show up for your shift, there's probably going to be some lists available. You'll be packing those, and then they'll be put on the shelves. So that process will be pretty much the same as it has been. But in addition to doing that, we will, when somebody comes to pick up, we'll get them checked in, and then we'll pause picking and packing, and we'll go make sure they get their groceries into their car, right? So then we'll do the distribution process kind of all at that same time. And so, yeah, the one thing we don't know yet, which will kind of flex and change as we have people place orders, is 10 a.m. Is that going to be our really busy time? And are we going to have most of our orders placed then? Or will it be even throughout the day? Will there be a very quiet time? We don't need as many volunteers. So right now, we don't know what to expect. So we kind of have it even across the board, but that's when some feedback from volunteers will be really helpful, so that we know when we need more volunteers or if we need less volunteers based on that client volume. Does that help you?
Yeah, so will they be picking up their orders like on the hour or on the half hour? Or it could be just anytime, or will it be a scheduled?
Yeah, so in the system right now, it's on the top of the hour, but I shouldn't say it's on the top of the hour. There are hour windows. So you can place your order for pickup between 2 and 3. And so then you can come anytime during that time frame. So folks, and we can adjust those, right? So I currently put them all at the top of the hour for an hour. So people then can place their order, and then they can come during that time frame. They don't have to come at a specific time, but kind of giving them a range. My hope too is that because we are going to offer it all day, like when we're open for shopping, that allows some flexibility for our shoppers as well. Like if they selected the 10 a.m. slot and then, little baby Jay decided to keep napping or have a blowout or something or whatever it is, you can then come, 2 hours later because we're still open and we're still running the distribution. We still have volunteers there doing that whole process. That adds a little bit more flexibility into our shoppers' experience.
And there's a new category of opportunity. I think it's called setup or something. Can you talk about that? And will the people for setup, will they also be involved in getting the orders to the shoppers that come to the virtual pantry?
Yeah, so that setup position is really kind of like a jack of all trades, somebody who's willing to jump in and do whatever we need. If we have a lot of orders to pack and we're low on boxes, they could help make some boxes. Sometimes it might be stocking the shelves so that we can continue that flow pretty seamlessly, depending on, especially in the beginning, as we're trying to figure out when those heavy times are. If it's helping load a car here and there, that would be something. You know, there's always, as you all have volunteered, you know, there's always those things to do. And so we kind of built in that extra setup person to help kind of jump around and do a bunch of odd different types of jobs. So that hopefully if people like to do a myriad of different things during their time while they're here, hopefully that setup shift will kind of blend towards their.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm in the virtual pantry, and I just wanted to know if there's only going to be 2 visits a month. So if somebody orders it and then they don't show up, is that going to be counted as one of their visits?
Great question. That would not be counted. Unfortunately, it'll just be double work for us, right? We then cancel that order and put that product back on the shelves for somebody else to order, but it won't be counted as them picking up food and getting food.
Oh, will there be a limit on how many times you cannot pick up your order?
Yeah, so currently we are tracking that. We are moving to a new software so that we'll be able to track that even better, because right now we're just doing it in an Excel document. But tracking no-shows, it's, you know, for any organization that has appointments or online ordering, they're gonna have some type of no-show rate. And so for me, 10% or less is incredible. And then also just trying to assess, are there, you know, habitual no-shows? And if there are, my first step would just be reaching out. Hey, what is there anything that we can help to prevent or to help you get your groceries, right? We've seen you place an order and you aren't able to come pick up, you know, what's that reason? And so trying to help problem solve why they're unable to pick up their order before we do any type of, you know, restrictions or any of that.
Okay, and one last question. Will there be, are we going to set any limits as to some people, you know, they'll put on their order that they want like 3 bags of this or 5 cartons of eggs, just as an example, or, you know, 5, something that you think is kind of ridiculous, you know. Will we have a limit?
Great question. So in our current system, there is a limit to each item we put online. Everything has a cap, but there isn't a way to equitably change that limit. So a household of 1 gets the same cap as a household of 7. And so we set those limits pretty high so that it can accommodate households with more people. In the new system that we're moving to, set date is beginning of February, we can have a different cap for all those items for different household sizes. So with the new software, it'll then be equitable and we can better track our inventory and ensure our inventory is able to like spread to more households in a more equitable way than we currently are able to do so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I have a question regarding limits. When I started at the pantry a few years ago, we limited according to household size, and now we're not. Are we going back to that to try to hang on to some inventory for other people?
And thank you. So our hope is to encourage folks to shop online. And so one thing that I'm focusing on is trying to make the product available online be a little more equal and equitable to what you would find shopping in the store. Because online, the system limits and we don't have to have anybody standing there telling people, oh, you have to put something back on the shelf. And we really want the shopping experience, both for our volunteers and for our shoppers, to be a good experience. And so we don't want to put anybody in that situation of trying to watch the shelves, figure out, did somebody take more than they're supposed to take, trying to figure out how many people are in their household. I know a number of our shoppers, you know, don't have grandkids listed on in their household, but they're watching their grandkids for a weekend or a week. And so they're shopping for extra mouths to feed. And so really trying to still be able to say yes to our shoppers and say, take what you need. Also, knowing that everybody's diet is different. We eat cereal and chips here. and beans. And so if you put a limit on those, but I could take other things, I'm not going to eat those other things. We're only going to eat, 10, 20 of those few things we are going to eat. So really trying to accommodate our shoppers. You will still see volunteers stationed in a few places around the store. So in the store, when you sign up for a shift at the store, you will see shopping assistant. And there's going to be, I think there's 5 or 6 people that can sign up for that job role. And then they are stationed at specific spots throughout the pantry, as we currently have, to help with those few things that we do need to put a limit on so that we can stretch it throughout the day. But that's a good question.
Ellie, did you want to mention the shopping carts as well?
Yes. So another thing, right, that we are changing, and starting January 12th, we're going to have new shopping carts for our shoppers. They're going to be smaller. So they're the 2-tier carts that you would find at the grocery store. Again, we're not enforcing taking less. We're trying to subtly create ways where we can then stretch our inventory and make sure we have more food for more shoppers coming through. So we will start smaller shopping carts, but it's just that everyone gets a shopping cart as they do now. We'll be using bags as opposed to boxes, because the boxes just don't fit in those little compartments. And then people are able to use that to shop the pantry. If they end up using their bags and carrying their bags, that's fine. We're not going to tell them they can only use their shopping cart. But so we'll have new shopping carts January 12th.
I have a few questions.
Susan. Oh, Susan has had her hand up, and then we'll get to whoever that was.
Colleen, when I was in the virtual pantry this morning, there was mention that our partnership with DoorDash is ending. Is I guess maybe, does anybody have any background on that and what we expect that will do to the volume in the virtual pantry?
Yeah, so DoorDash, amazing program that they made available last year to a bunch of nonprofits across the country. And many people were like, this is amazing, and all used it very well. DoorDash then said, this is not sustainable, and changed the way that they were doing their program for nonprofits. So they have given us a grant of so many deliveries. So we get a certain amount of deliveries through DoorDash. So if we were to continue our program with DoorDash as we are now, we would use those probably within a month or 2, and then we wouldn't have any more DoorDash deliveries. So we are reevaluating how we do our DoorDash program and who is going to be eligible and able to use that, because we want people who both long-term need DoorDash, and that's the only way they're able to get groceries, but also short-term, if people like temporarily aren't able to leave their home and need groceries delivered, we want to be able to have that as a resource for them. So right now we're putting a pause on it so we can best assess who falls into which category, and to ensure that we are able to stretch those deliveries and make sure that they're available to our shoppers.
And just to build quickly on what Ellie mentioned, we really want these changes to be centered on our customers. And so one of the things we're doing with respect to DoorDash is we're actively right now surveying all 200 households that have participated in, whether it's one time or every week in the DoorDash program, to better understand what it is that, why they're using it, how often they're using it, would they be willing to pick up would they be able to pick up at a different location, those types of things, so that we can then better identify and understand, you know, who our customers are that are using it, and then how do we tailor that program going forward in a sustainable way, as Ellie mentioned, with the restrictions that DoorDash has put on it, so that we can, you know, really make sure that we're utilizing those resources as best we can.
Did someone else have a question?
Laura,
I thought.
Oh, I did. It was regarding DoorDash too. That was one of my questions, if that was going to continue in the pantry. And I just want to understand the call-in with the 30-minute orders and stuff for the pantry also. So that's not a service that's going to run parallel hours-wise with shopping in the actual pantry. That's going to be a service that's available whenever there's someone in the virtual pantry, correct?
Sorry. Yes, so our virtual pantry hours are shifting and they will mirror the store hours. So yes to both of those.
Okay, so when you're there for a shift, you might be filling 30-minute orders, you might be filling regular orders for pickup, or you might be doing offsite orders, correct?
Yes, so our offsites will continue as they have been. So we will be packing those on Mondays. And then because we have distributions on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, starting on January 12th.
Okay.
We will, again, because we don't know where the volume is going to settle, we'll probably pre-pack a few of the orders that have, you know, are going to be picked up in the morning the day before. And then when people show up, we'll then be packing the afternoon orders while doing the distribution. And I, having worked with a number of different volunteers in different volunteer roles, I enjoy seeing what shifts kind of organically do depending on who's there. Some people, you know, might show up and they're like, I love loading cars. So, you know, I'll load all the cars and everybody else can pack. And some people are like, I want to do both, right? I'm happy flip-flopping back and forth. But because we don't know who's going to be needed where, we blended those roles together because I was really afraid of us having like a distribution shift, you know, spot, and then nobody placed an order. So for the 2 hours they're here, they loaded one car, and that's like what they did. So we blended those two together, especially in the beginning time, because we're like, we don't know what that flow is going to, and so that kind of helps with that unknown.
Other questions? Those setup shifts are also, you'll see those in the pantry as well, which I think we mentioned, but also in the pantry, we've gone back to the retail sorting shifts. We've gotten rid of the teams, which we may have mentioned while I was checking my Instant Pot. But those are eliminated. And so now when you go in for a shift, when you're in the main pantry, you will see it's under Woodridge Pantry now. So if you look at the category list, you will see that in the category list is the Woodridge, is retail sorting, shopping assistance, which Ellie just talked about, and then the setup crew, I think is our, like we have 3 main shifts. So
yeah, thanks, Colleen. Does anybody have any other questions? Those were all really good questions.
all right, so if there aren't any more questions, I don't see any more hands. So thank you all very, very much. And Jade, thank you for being so patient and wonderful. And we appreciate all of you. And you are just, we appreciate how engaged you are, how much concern you have for the way we're moving, and we want you to feel free to give us feedback as we go, because as Ellie has mentioned, some of this is, you know, Ellie and Paul have been very thoughtful in targeting numbers and how much it costs for each household, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, you know, we're going to have to see how it all kind of fits together. So this week we will have a time to kind of inform our customers. And I'm not sure if Paul, you mentioned this, but Betty was concerned about the front office people. The other thing is we met just with the front desk people today. Did you say that already, Paul?
No.
Did you mention that? No. Okay. So we met with them at noon. So all the greeters and the check-ins, and we talked very specifically just about, you know, enforcing out of area and how that's going to look and what verbiage are they going to use with people, and about staff being available to explain if someone gets agitated so that they can hand it off to someone else. So that was all covered in our session today, just in terms of how to share this information in a positive way. And I appreciated Barb she said, you know, I'm just going to tell people that, you know, we're doing this to help you so that we can serve everyone, is why these changes are happening, is because we're so dedicated to serving everybody. So putting a positive spin on it, I think, is important, and they will have all the resources to share other pantries, other locations, etc.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else, friends? Woohoo! All right. You guys are the best. One last plug for those of you who don't read your email. We are really desperate for helpers tomorrow, 11:45 to 3 and 2:45 to 5:15. This is the last day I will ever ask you for a Thursday afternoon, because it's our last Thursday afternoon. So if you are available, feel free to email me or sign up. I took the 24-hour thing off the shopping services, so you can secretly go in there and sign up for tomorrow.
Wish I could.
All right, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.